Welcome to Troll Time. I'm your host, Ivan D. Curtis, aka the Troll King, and this is a show where we talk sports, movies, or anything thought-provoking. In this episode, we'll be talking about Tyler Marsh in as the head coach for the Chicago Sky. Also, Stephanie White named head coach of the Indiana Fever. NCAA basketball kicked off this week. I'll be recapping a few of those games. NFL, NBA. I'll be talking about some upcoming games and also be recapping the NFL last week. Just to top it all off, we'll start in the WNBA. Tyler Marsh, assistant coach, head of player development for the Las Vegas Aces, is now the head coach of the Chicago Sky. I like this pick. It's going to be very interesting to see how the organization follows suit. Of course, when you're looking at getting a head coach for a franchise that's looking to get back up there with the contenders, you want to find somebody with some championship pedigree and things of that nature. And I think they did a good job in picking that in Marsh. But if you ask me about the Chicago Sky, they do have some personnel clashes that I think it needs to be handled along with player development as well. But they have to get a better backcourt if they want to contend for a WNBA championship. Of course, the development, a lot of weight was on the young players, Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese. I think they did a phenomenal job as rookies, but you definitely gonna have to up the ante, and a lot of that is gonna start where I think Marsh is gonna be real effective, and that's in player development. A lot of times, I think people don't really understand the value of having great assistant coaches. The head coach has a heavy responsibility on the overall scheme of things. But the assistant coaches, that's pretty much where the player development comes in at, and how much time and effort that they put in with each and every player collectively ultimately determines the outcome of your team as they come together as one. So I like that. A lot of people really, from when I made the announcement about Marsh getting the head coaching job, a lot of people really didn't know much about his pedigree, but he has coaching experience beyond the Las Vegas Aces. I mean, he was an assistant coach and video coordinator and player development coach for the Toronto Raptors, who won. He was on that 2019 championship team that was head coached by Nick Nurse. He's also coached which was the D League then, but now the G League, and for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants in 2016-17, Bakersfield Jam from 2014 to 15. That's currently the Motor City Cruise. Iowa Energy in 2013 and 14 is currently the Iowa Wolves, and the Rio Grande Valley Vipers from 2012 to 2013. So he's been around. He's also played collegiately at Alabama Birmingham from 2006 to 2008, and then he has bloodlines in the game. His dad, Donnie Marsh, coached for decades. He's currently assistant coach for Detroit Mercy, the men's team. But that just lets you know that, coaching is in his DNA. I think as the GM mentioned that he liked his work ethic and a lot of things that go along with March, his work ethic, deep understanding of the game, and his ability to connect with players on a personal level. He think that's what set him apart. And of course, the Sky, they have some personalities. It's going to be interesting to see, for me, what happens with Kennedy Carter. I think that's her talent speaks for itself, but all the other antics that don't coincide with winning is what I really want to see what happens. So hats off to Tyler Marsh and the Chicago Sky. really intrigued to see what they look like coming up for next 2025 season. Stephanie White, of course, named head coach for the Indiana Fever. Actually, it was a no-brainer. I actually had called it out a while ago. It just made sense with her leaving Connecticut, being one of the top coaches in the WNBA. Being from Indiana, where she played and she has played there for Purdue and coached for the Fever. So it just made perfect sense. And the one thing I like about it, she was a guard. Of course, Caitlin Clark is a guard. I like those type of the compatibility there with when you talk about coaching. When you're talking about coaches coaching players who played the same position they played, I think it's a different understanding that goes with that, and I think it's they're going to be able to relate on a lot of different things. And of course, Stephanie White, when she's not coaching in the WNBA, she does a ton of commentary work throughout collegiate hoops and elsewhere. So I think she's very familiar with Caitlin Clark and a ton of other players that play the game. And I think that's really going to be something interesting to pay attention to is who can Indiana Fever attract. I know I've been seeing a lot of things circulating from Satu Sabali. One of my buddies on Facebook, he actually had been saying all along that Satu is coming to the Indiana Fever, and I told him I'm gonna hold him to it. But he's been saying that for a while, and if that happens, get Kelsey Mitchell back on board. Of course, you got Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. Really want to see what they do with the rest of the roster, the Indiana Fever. Of course, I think Lexi Ho is there for the long haul. She's also working on her game. She's going to play in Unrivaled too, so that's going to help her big time. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the rest of the roster, and then also what type of free agents that they'll be able to pick up. But hats off to the Fever. Y'all know I rock with the Fever, being a Midwest guy. So I'm excited to see what happens with Stephanie White at the helm. Moving along to, I want to say, college basketball. Of course, you had some pretty good matchups to call from on Monday. Just to get started off, you had South Carolina and Michigan. You had USC and Ole Miss, and then UCLA and Louisville. Those were the games that I actually watched. I really didn't. I didn't watch too many, but those games where I actually got caught a hold of, and pretty much enjoyed them. Started off 12 p.m. game. You had Ole Miss and USC. Juju Watkins didn't disappoint. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well. Didn't take care of the ball particularly well. But she did finish with 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists, 3 steals, and 5 blocks. Shot 8 for 19 from the field, 1 for 4 from the 3, and 10 for 12 from the free throw line. That's the one thing she does. She is great at getting to the free throw line, and that's the reason. That's partly why she scores a lot of points, even when she shoots poorly, is because she gets to the free throw line. Of course, you had Kiki Irfan. She finished with 22 points, 13 rebounds, 7 for 15 from the field, 8 for 11 from the free throw line. That is the transfer from Stanford, who was also on an All-American list as well with Juju. Great game by her. And then Kennedy Smith, one of the fantastic freshmen that came in this year, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 5 for 11 from the field. And then you had on the Ole Miss side, they played a competitive game. But, USC ultimately won this game 68-66, but it was a scrappy game. Sloppy pretty much early, and then came down to a competitive finish at the end. It could have went either way. USC made a few more plays down the stretch to take it home, but KK Deans finished with 19 points for Ole Miss, and Madison Scott, she finished with 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. I think USC, like I said, got out to a slow start. They're going to be a team to look out for, of course, as a contender as the season goes on. But Ole Miss played tough and competitive as usual, but definitely they're going to have to be able to score the ball a little bit more, again, especially against top competition. At the 2:30 game, you had UCLA and Louisville. Louisville fell to UCLA 66-59. Lauren Betts, of course, for UCLA, kind of set the tone early, but she finished with 18 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks, and was 9 for 12 from the field. London Jones, she finished with 13 points, 4 assists. And then you had Tamia Gardner, another big-time transfer. She came off the bench for 15 points and 7 rebounds, for 5 for 7 from the 3. And Louisville was headed by Tiziana Roberts. She finished with 21 points and 3 rebounds. Shot 8 for 19 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3. And that was pretty much the most contribution. You had Jalea Williams with 11 points and 7 rebounds, but not a lot of scoring balance for Louisville. Like I said, UCLA took care of business, 66-59. And then in a nightcap, South Carolina, of course, everyone's favorite, most people's favorite to, repeat. But they did get a little test from Michigan. They went on to win 68-62. Pretty much a close game throughout. Michigan had its chances in this game, but South Carolina just proved to be too much. Chloe Kitts led South Carolina with 19 points and 14 rebounds, with 7 for 14 from the field. You had Joyce Edwards, who came off the bench. She had 10 points, 7 rebounds. And then Tessa Johnson, she always, to me, comes through and saves the day. She finished with 15 points, shot 3 for 6 from the 3, 6 for 12 from the field overall. But on Michigan, you had Silas Swords, outstanding freshman for Michigan. She finished with 27 points, 12 rebounds, 9 for 19 from the field. Almost single-handedly helped Michigan defeat the number 1 team in the country. And then you had Jordan Hobbs, who finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds. Like I said, it was a pretty good game. In other news, though, with South Carolina, they are getting Watkins back. So that's going to help them out tremendously, as they move on in the season. But definitely her defense was missed. Ashlyn Watkins, of course, had been out, on some assault charges and kidnapping, but they were dismissed. And she will be back with the team. We'll get into that another day, but hats off for those teams and those games that I watched overall for women's college basketball. Moving on to college football. Of course, everybody knows I'm a big time Ohio State fan. We were in a dogfight with Penn State early. It was pretty much a gut match. Will Howard being from Pennsylvania, and it was a funny day because earlier was not looking good. He got picked off a few times. He got in, and also had got a pick six. We were down 10-0, and then held Penn State to 3 points the rest of the game, and went on to win 20-13. But it was a must needed win for Ohio State. I'm always leery, about when we playing on the road, especially at Penn State, Michigan State. They always tend to get us when we supposed to be one of the top teams in the country. So I was nervous about that. But Will Howard finished 16 for 24, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns. Quinshon Jenkins, 14 carries, 95 yards. Then you had Jeremiah Smith, 4 catches, 55 yards. Brandon Ennis, he had 2 catches, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. Emeka Ibuka also had a touchdown off 3 receptions, 31 yards. But a gutty game. Ended up pulling it out. Ohio State is now 7-1, 4-1 in the Big Ten. Penn State fell. That was their first loss. They're now 7-1 and also tied at 4-1 in the Big Ten. I told you we're on the Ashton Jeanty watch. He carried the ball 31 times for 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. Boise State defeated San Diego State 56-24. Other than that, I didn't really watch too many games. A lot of them was Miami and Duke game was close until they pulled away, and they ended up blowing them out 53-31. Cam Ward threw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. But aside from that, Indiana's on a roll right now. 9-0, 6-0 in the Big Ten. They defeated Michigan State 47-10. That game was pretty close, and then Indiana just got away from them. But they're now ranked 13th. We'll get into the top 25 later, but Kansas State was upset by Houston 24-19. That kind of caught me off guard. Before we get into the rankings and different things like that, those were games from Week 10. Just looking forward to Week 11, Ohio State will play Purdue. We shouldn't have too many problems with Purdue. You got Florida, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Indiana playing Michigan at home. That's going to be something to look out for. Although Michigan is 5-4, 3-3 in the Big Ten, still just want to see how Indiana continues to go through the Big Ten, playing a lot of the top teams. So I'll be keeping my eyes out on that game. And then you got Army, who's still undefeated. They're number 20, ranked 25th in the country. They play North Texas, who is 5-3. So I'll be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, excuse me, you got Colorado and Texas Tech. Colorado is now ranked in the top 25. They're at number 20 right now. 6-2, 4-1 in the Big 12. Texas Tech is 6-3, 4-2 in the Big 12. So I'll definitely be locked in at that at 4 o'clock. And then later on that night, you got Maryland and Oregon. I don't see Oregon having too many problems with that. Alabama, LSU be one to look out for. Oklahoma, Missouri, and Penn State and Washington. And then, of course, Nevada and Boise State. I'll be keeping my eyes out on Mr. Jeanty. And BYU and Utah. BYU is still undefeated, number 9 team in the country. Heading over to to college football right now. The top 12 teams currently is number 1 Oregon, number 2 Georgia, number 3 Miami, number 4 BYU, 5 Ohio State, 6 Texas, 7 Penn State, 8 Tennessee, 9 Indiana, number 10 Notre Dame, 11 Alabama, and 12 Boise State. So that is something to look out for now that they're doing the college playoff predictions and rankings and different things of that nature. So we'll be on the lookout for that each week. So just pay attention to that. But I'm rocking with the Buckeyes until the end of time. And, hey, I think we're in good shape, especially depending on how – we got a long way from now. Long time, but a short time. But I think we'll be good and primed and ready by then. But it's a lot of good teams. You get 12 teams in the playoffs, I think there's no way you can get it wrong. We're actually going to have probably the first champion to earn it in a while. I mean, 4 teams, 18. If you in college football, if you go anything the top 10 and below, I think you can get it right. 12 makes it even perfect because now you left room for some of the mid majors and a bid for a small school to get in. But I think at the end of the day, you got the top 10 to 12 teams. There's no way you can get it wrong. But like I said, I'm rocking with those Bucks all day long. But I would be excited if Colorado did happen to make a run and make it to the playoffs. But it's still OHIO all day, every day. Heading on over now to the NFL. You got... I was got my heart broken on Thursday Night Football as you got the Texans who played the Jets on Thursday Night Football. The Jets snuck out of there with a 21-13 win. Garrett Wilson made a dope catch in that game as well for a touchdown, but my Titans, man, they ain't been looking too hot as of late. Has been having a hard time protecting C.J. Stroud. He didn't throw a touchdown pass in that game. Mixon did run pretty well, 24 carries, 106 yards, and 1 touchdown. But yeah, it was a tough night for my Texans. The Jets, on the other hand, Aaron Rodgers threw 3 touchdown passes, 22 for 32 for 211 yards. Breece Hall, 15 carries, 74 yards. And Devontae Adams, 7 catches, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. And Garrett Wilson, 9 catches, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, bad loss in my eyes for the Texans. A needed win for the Jets, who have been on the skid. But, good to see Aaron Rodgers and the receivers clicking. Always a good week for myself when the Cowboys take a L. Kirk Cousins threw 3 touchdown passes that they defeated the Cowboys 27-21. Bijan Robinson also ran for 86 yards as well. Moving along, Buffalo improved to 7-2 after a 30-27 win over the Dolphins. Josh Allen, 25 for 39, 235 yards pass and 3 touchdowns. Bengals defeat the Raiders. Browns get stomped by the Chargers. Justin Herbert threw 2 touchdown passes. I was kind of rooting for the Browns, man, because after a strong win against Baltimore, Jameis came out, man. It was 26 for 46, 235 yards and 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. Tough day for him and the Browns, but Hey, it happens. Titans 20-17 win over the Patriots. Both of those teams are they're struggling this year. The Commanders, Jaden Daniels, 27-22 over the Giants. Jaden Daniels 15 for 22, 209 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. I root with the young man having a phenomenal rookie season. The Commanders are now 7-2, 3-2. They're 7-2, and that 3-2. I want to say at home, on the road. But now the Giants have they're only 2-7 and have not won a game at home. Carolina 23-22 over the Saints. Both teams 2-7, struggling this year. Baltimore gets it done over the Denver Broncos, 41-10. Watched a little bit of that, but man, it was a blowout. Lamar Jackson, 16 for 19, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 23 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, 5 catches, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Anytime they clicking like that, it's probably going to lead to a Baltimore win at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much. I didn't watch too many games. Now, the Bears took a tough loss to the Cardinals, 29-9. What was it? Looking along, had not too many games jumped out at me. Beyond that, as I'm going down the list, Philly got it done over the Jaguars, 28-23. Barkley, man, had a phenomenal play in that game. I have to show it to you in video, but man, it was probably the 3 best moves I've seen by any running back on the football field. But it was for a phenomenal run. He had a phenomenal game, 27 carries, 159 yards, 1 touchdown. And Jalen Hurts, 18 for 24, 230 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Let me see, Devonta Smith, 4 catches, 87 yards, a touchdown. Barkley also had a receiving touchdown and 3 catches for 40 yards. But great day for Philly. They now improved to 6-2. And Rams defeated the Seahawks 26-20. Lions defeated the Packers 24-14. Jordan Love, he came back, didn't play too bad, didn't throw a touchdown pass. Did finish 23 for 39, 273 yards passing, 1 interception. Jared Goff in Detroit got it done more ways than one. He passed for 145 yards, 1 touchdown. David Montgomery, 73 yards rushing. Jamar Gibbs, 65 yards rushing and a touchdown. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 catches, 56 yards, 1 touchdown. In the Sunday night football, Minnesota and the Colts. Minnesota took care of business 21-13. Sam Darnold passed for 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Jordan Addison had 5 catches, 42 yards, 1 touchdown. Josh Oliver, 5 catches, 58 yards, and 1 touchdown. Justin Jefferson didn't have a touchdown, but did have 7 catches for 137 yards. Always effective, no matter if he's in the end zone or not. Minnesota, they improved to 6-2. And Monday Night Football, Chiefs always in a controversial win as this season moves along. But they're now 8-0 and the only undefeated team in the NFL. They won 30-24. Pat Mahomes, 34 for 44, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, 27 carries, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce, man, 14 catches, 100 yards, no touchdowns. But DeAndre Hopkins, 8 catches, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a multiple good grabs throughout this game. The Chiefs have a way, man, of picking up players at the right time and getting the max usage out of them. If you're looking down the line, Hopkins and Hunt are probably going to be 2 key pieces on what the Kansas City Chiefs do the rest of the season. But I think, they do it better than any other team. They pick up players, whether, no matter how they get them, but they always get max usage out of them. Now, looking ahead to Week 11, some games I'm going to be on the lookout for. Thursday Night Football is going to be a goodie with the Commanders and the Eagles. Definitely going to be on a watch for that. And then you got Packers-Bears, which is always a rivalry game in itself. Honestly, those are that's really the only game. You got Ravens and Steelers, which I'm going to pay attention to that. That's probably the best 1 o'clock game outside of that. But then later on, the evening games, Bills and Chiefs, always guaranteed to be a goodie. Sunday Night Football, you got the Bengals and the Chargers. And then Monday Night Football, you got the Texans and the Cowboys. Now, of course, just a little bit of news in the NFL. Not going to get into trades and everything that's happened as a trade deadline ended the other day, but no Dak Prescott for the Cowboys. So it's going to be interesting to see what they look like for the next 4 to 5 weeks or so, depending on what happens with Dak Prescott. But, of course, they'll be playing my Texans. That game, I believe, is in Dallas. So hopefully the Texans can get it done. Other than that, I'll be my partner, A. Willie, is out. Has been out for a hot second. So I'll probably be doing a lot of these shows by myself. And in part 2 to my last words is that I'm probably be, even if I'm doing short episodes on different games or different things like that I see, I'll probably just fire up and give my thoughts on games or anything that's going on or whatever, and just shoot it by myself or whatever. But that's a recap of different games and stuff like that that's went over on the last week. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, make sure you follow me on Facebook at Ivan D. Curtis. And like I always say, if you don't remember anything, I'm here to laugh, show love, promote, talk sports, movies, joke, and troll. Catch us on the next episode.